Sebastian. Here today you have a presentation about the market prospect of gold and silver. As we all know, the prices of commodity has been falling so much, and well, which means that the industries or the companies will have to involve to maintain their investment on the projects. So, what reforms could be made to in order to stabilize the market?
I think that one of the first things to understand is the key is to not stabilize the markets, but to stabilize the profitability of the companies. In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, governments of the world thought that they should try to stabilize the prices of a lot of commodities, everything from rubber and corn and coffee to metals. And what they found was that that was the wrong approach. You shouldn't try to stabilize the market, you should try to stabilize revenues from the companies. Okay. Now, looking at the current situation, it's very important to understand that. Because what you see is, yes, prices have fallen. So copper is down to $7,000 a ton. But that is incredibly higher. That is twice, 2 to 3 times higher than it was prior to the last 10 years. And silver is down to $19.50 per ounce. But that is many times higher than it was at any point prior to 2007, 2008. So, and gold is down to $1,300, which is 5 times what it was in 2000. So the problem is not that gold prices have fallen to low levels. Gold prices have fallen, but they're still at very high levels. And the same is true for copper and to a lesser extent lead and zinc and silver. And what the problems are on the production side. The second thing is they don't hedge, and that's an incredible mistake. There are tools that are available to them that they can stabilize their exposure to volatile prices. You can't control volatile prices, and you shouldn't. When we have tried as a country or as a world to stabilize prices before, it's always led to problems. And you should not try to stabilize prices. You should let the market set the price. But what you can do is protect the individual producers and consumers from those volatile prices. For hedging, there are 3 big problems. First one is that the banks and dealers that sell hedging products, generally speaking, don't sell really products that are structured well for the producers. They sell products that are structured well for the banks and dealers. Yeah. The second thing is that the producers don't have the financial sophistication, by and large, to analyze the products that are being sold to them and say, wait a second, that's not a good deal, maybe we can do something better. Yeah. And the third one is that investors in these mining companies have watched those first 2 problems, and they've thrown up their hands in disgust and say, please, stop hedging. And if they understood hedging properly, the producers would hedge better and the investors would be happy.
The other thing is about Latin America. Peru is the first producer of gold and the second on silver in our region. So, do you think the markets of both minerals will be stable enough to ensure the investment or the successful Peruvian exports?
I think that the markets will be good enough. If you look at the constraints on mining companies expanding their production and their exports, almost all of the problems don't have to do with the price or the market or with the geologic realities of individual mines. Almost all of the problems constraining growth are man-made, and they have to do with politics and corruption and management issues and constraints in production. So again, it falls on management to work with local authorities, work with national authorities, and to work with their own companies to try to overcome these man-made obstacles to growing production. Peru has tremendous natural resources. Yeah. And one of the reasons it's the first largest gold producer and the second largest silver producer and the second largest copper producer is because it has been endowed with these natural resources. So if management can control the man-made problems that it faces, and some of those problems are beyond management control. Corruption, environmental regulations that are excessive, things like that. But if management can overcome these man-made obstacles, Peru should thrive as a mining country. Other problems like corruption are beyond the control of management, unfortunately. So you've seen, I think just recently, some allegations brought forth about, local people who say that if you give me money, I will support your development of the mine. And if you don't, I will oppose it on environmental and cultural issues. And that's not specific to Peru. It happened in Brooklyn, where I lived a few years ago, and it happens around the world. And corruption and obstructionism are major problems that are not completely in the management's control. The management has to understand that there are problems, and they have to work effectively to counter them.
Okay. So let's get back to the global vision, the global aspects. Focusing on the mining market in general, and not only gold and silver, what is the outlook in terms of investment for, let's say, 2015?
Well, our view is that, as you said earlier, prices have fallen sharply across commodities. Our view is that the lows are probably in. We probably saw the low for gold last year, and probably also the low for silver. Copper may go a little bit lower this year and next year, but we think that when you go beyond 2014 and 2015, we think that what you'll see is prices will stabilize this year. They'll move slightly higher for gold and maybe for silver next year. Copper could still be suffering next year. And then, beyond 2015, we think that the prices will probably rise because the demand for these commodities still exists. It exists in industrial and fabrication demand. It exists in jewelry demand for gold and silver, and it exists in investment demand. And you have seen over the last 20 years an upward shift in the demand curve for basic raw materials, and you've seen an upward shift in the investment demand curve. And those are permanent or secular shifts. And so what you will see is that the demand will continue to rise. We're going through a bad patch now, 2013, 14, into 15, but we think that this is the worst time, and things will get better.
So gold and silver, the commodities are going to rise, and about the other minerals, they are going to maintain?
I think that copper probably will be weak this year and next year, but beyond 2015, I wouldn't be surprised to see copper prices rising. And the same is true on lead and zinc.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate so much, and well, we wish that we have you with us with Oro Negro again.
I thank you for interviewing me. I only apologize that I can't answer in Spanish.